For the next, the most important, keep listening to the material and enjoy to the Zoom until finish. For today, we have someone will bring the topic is Ibu Brigita Iswaro Laksmi. Hello, Ibu.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you.
All right, Ibu, ready for share the topic today?
Yes,
All right,
I do.
if you're ready, let's start the present topic for today. For Ibu Brigita Iswaro Laksmi, time is yours.
Okay, how long I've given the time? How long I get to present my presentation?
45 minutes, ma'am.
45 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, Mbak Nabila, could you please open
Yeah,
or
I'll
show?
try
Yeah.
first. Okay.
Okay. First of all, I would like to say Assalamualaikum. Good morning to all of the participants and all the Bapak and Ibu from UHAMKA and also from LPDS. Here I will convey my presentation about the climate change and the global situation right now. Okay, my name is Brigita Isworo. It's an honor for me to have this opportunity to share my experience as an environment journalist, especially since 2007 when I started writing about climate change. It's climate change quite an issue, and indeed it's a very complex issue that involves, we can say, every aspect of life, as it is a global issue. As we know, since 1992 there was a treaty, Kyoto Protocol, that was agreed upon for operationalization tools to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. The convention gathers every year at the Climate Change Conference to bring up a response to climate change. Based on the new report on the scientific side of the issue, I'm sure that you have had all these materials before me, before my presentation today. And now I will start my presentation. Good. Yeah, okay. This is, I give the title Climate Change, an opportunity for G20 to give their contribution. Okay, next, Mbak. Probably I will start the history first. Climate change is very heavy in the scientific sides. The scientific discovery of climate change actually has begun in early 18th centuries. For example, in 1897, the Swedish chemist Svante Arrhenius speculated whether and how carbon dioxide emissions could lead to increase in atmospheric temperature and a greenhouse effect. In the industrial era, I just picked some of this. In 1966, Shell Oil Company denied what the physician told about the impact of using oil on the atmosphere and the carbon dioxide that is emitted. Around 800 and 870, the level of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, as later measured in ancient ice, is about 290 ppm. Mean global temperatures at that time is roughly 13.6 Celsius. Next, please. And 1800, 1870. Yeah. And now we are about a 0.85 degrees Celsius warmer than the 20th century and 1.04 degrees Celsius warmer than the pre-industrial period. First industrial revolution, the coal railroads and land clearing speed up greenhouse gas emission, while better agriculture and sanitation speed up the population growth. And as we know, the population growth also speed up the using of the fossil fuels, so that it make worse the global warming and climate change. Right? Next, please. And in that situation of climate change, or the characteristic of climate change and about climate change itself, what is the role of communicating this challenge and the global attempt to solve it? Firstly, the media should give the right perspective on the climate change issues to promote a green lifestyle to people, to underline hopes, not the bleak future. This is our task and responsibility for humanity, to push the government to make the right decisions on environmental issues, especially on climate change, and also to shape public opinion. If we work for the global media, so we can shape public opinion in a global level and also for the others for the local level. And what is the responsibility of the media? We should help to avoid skepticism by reducing the uncertainty factor of climate change issue. Next, please. The media should write out the voice of the voiceless. The voiceless is an example, the indigenous peoples, the poor, the women, the children, the elders. They are the most vulnerable to climate change risk. Okay. Next, Mbak. And what is actually the most important to make the picture clear? As a writer, we should mapping what is the important thing in this issue. We should mapping the actors. We should mapping the interest of each actors, and we can provide the interlinkage of the interests between the actors. The actors could be countries, multinational industries, politicians, academicians, and so on, whoever involved in these issues. And this issue is involved us. The voice and the voiceless, I will add it. The environment is the voiceless. The flora is the voiceless. The animal is the voiceless too, for addition. And then mapping is important to show how they choose each actors. They choose sides or positions in this issue. And we should mapping the impacts on the process of taking political decision. That I mean, we mapping the impacts if they choose the decision, a decision, then we should provide what is the impacts if they make the decision, the A decision, and if they take the B decision, what is the impacts? We should show that so that we can give more consideration sides to the political decision makers. And also, we should investigate what is the geopolitical background and find the interlinkage interests between countries. Okay. The media should bring the issue up to reach a wider understanding and to move people to push its government making the right decision. Because if we let the government themselves, probably they have another interest, and sometimes many political actors, they just forget the people's what's that? The people's they forget the to provide goodness for peoples, and they sometimes they also forget like the sustainable development for the good of the people in the future. In the global context, global leaders are the first keys to opening the door to the right direction of saving the planet. Why? Because they have a very wide area that could be impacted by their decision, by their rules, by their treaty, whatever they do. They do like a snap, and then the impact is very big. This is a difference with us as individual. If we decide to have a green lifestyle, probably the impact is only around our house or around our kampung. I think kampung is also used in Philippines. I realized that some words are the same, similar, Indonesian and Philippines. Okay, that is about saving the planet. So the key actors are the leaders, the global leaders. Okay, next please. Now, what is actually the position of each parties? It's like countries or people or industry, whatever. The actor, what is the position that they take? It's not very clear actually, but I will explain it in the next sheet, please. Okay. The upper left corner, the one, identifies the scientific concern arguments. It's referring to the state of the natural climate system. This is the main and original point of departure of climate scientists, where the objective state of nature is the hard ground focused upon and argued about. This is we have now the IPCC who produce reports. That is the ground of this position. Indeed, the whole idea of anthropogenic causes of global warming detaches itself from the egocentrism of human nature and assumes the position of nature. And the second position is the upper right corner, identifies arguments referring to the intrinsically strategic, the self-interested reality of politics and human actions, an attempt to govern a system made of essentially egoistic actors, like individuals, companies, nation, group of countries. The third is an argument emphasizing more or less doubt or skepticism. This one is paradigm driven, biased nature of human knowledge about nature. And the fourth identifies an argument referring to the fact that human nature is a historical and cultural situational construct and subject to change by development, and political perspective, crucially, a question of recognition. Okay, next, Mbak. The first position is now we can see like EU countries who has a very deep ambition, very big ambitions in their NDC, which they set the goal for zero emission in 2050. It's since right after the Paris Agreement agreed. So they right after that they make a decision that want to get the goals zero emission in 2050. That is the first NDC, I think. The second position is usually the multinational companies, some of EU countries, Australia, America, etc. They put their leg in the second position. And the third position, the doubt and skepticism, is like all companies, big corporations, multinational corporation. As a example, is Shell in the USA. And the fourth position is IDS, yeah, small island developing states, small island developing states. The distinct group of developing countries that face particular situations of social, economic, and environmental vulnerability and constraints. And also, along with them is NGOs, humanity movements, religions group. Yeah. For all the compartment, it's no need that one actor put their leg only in one compartment, because depend on their interests, so they can put two legs in that compartment. So it's a bit mixing. Okay, next please. Now we talk about Indonesia and the G20, because Indonesia is hold the presidency of the G20. Bapak Joko Widodo, President, Indonesian President, just lately declared that Indonesia wants to be the examples to lead the world in cooperation on handling climate change and sustainably managing the environment by performing concrete actions. And Indonesia has decided to reach the net sink carbon for lands and forestry by 2030 and net zero by 2060 or even faster. Net zero area is already initiated by developing green industrial park in North Kalimantan, covering 13,200 hectares area that uses new and renewable energy and produces green products. It's like for what's that? The national farming. And 35,000 megawatts and fast track program, first and two, the electricity from fossil fuels contribute 65% to Indonesian GHG emission. The position now, we have 35,000 megawatts. Okay, next please. And to change into the renewable energy, Indonesia will stop the operation of 9.2 gigawatts the fossil fuel based electricity in 2030 and 5.5 gigawatt will stop operation earlier than 3.7 GW, and all will be replaced by new and renewable energy. As you know, Indonesia is very rich in the renewable energy sources like sun, wave, and also because Indonesia have a very vast ocean, so we have a very immense of energy source from the ocean. There's an analysis that the program will not be sufficient to contribute to holding a 1.5 degrees Celsius increase as in Paris Agreement. Right now, Indonesia has reduced the deforestation, and before the new NDC, the GHG emission of Indonesia, 60% is from forests, and about 20 is from energy, and the rest is from trash and everything else. According to an analysis by Institute for Essential Services Reform, to be in line with the 1.5 degrees Celsius and all the economic and social impacts, it is needed to stop 21.7 GW, the fossil fuel-based electricity that was operated by SOE, PLN, and another provider in the time frame of 2031 to 2040. Between 2041 to 2045, about 12.5 GW will be stop operation. But now in Indonesia, we don't have a clear, a firm regulation, the time frame to do that. So it's a bit difficult to implement this according to IESA. Okay, next, Mbak. Now, what is the expectation from G20 forum? The situation now, the USA pull out from Paris Agreement. This is a big setback, but we still have the expectation. The other 19 major world economics maintain their complete backing for the Paris Agreement and make it clear that the landmark climate deal was irreversible. The French announced ending the sale of diesel and gasoline vehicles by 2040, which will be followed by holding a summit to mobilize public and private finance to back the goals of the Paris Agreement. And all members of the C40, it is the major 40 cities in the global level, released a joint statement urging leaders of the world's richest nations to work with cities to save our planet. With US withdrawal, the resolve of the other 19 leaders at the upcoming G20 summit to safeguard the future of the planet is more important. Next, please. More than 40,000 people from around the world have signed a petition inspired by the major statement. They're demanding action from G20 leaders. And several pioneering cities, including Paris, Warsaw, Buenos Aires, Copenhagen, Stockholm, and Mexico City, have brought the campaign to the streets. In addition to all of it, support for the 47 least developed countries in expanding access to renewable energy and dealing with damage caused by accelerating climate change stay crucial for global climate action. Next, please. Before I make the closing, I will tell the history of the position of the rich countries and poor countries. It starts in the Kyoto Protocol. They have the rich countries and the poor countries as divided. And there are the CBDR, common but differentiated responsibilities concept there. And the undeveloped countries, they have a position of the fourth section of the compartment. They need the question of recognition. They call that the rich country must pay the debt, the historical story of the emission. That is at the beginning. So the burden of to pay the climate change impacts is on the rich countries. But then in the 2011 in Durban, they said we have to face it together because all of us get the impacts. Even the rich countries got the impact too. So that after Durban, the discussions is like a same level from the developed countries and developing countries and also the poor countries. But there are three main issues: is the adaptation, the mitigation, and also the finance. The scientific is the base of the climate change knowledge actually. But then in the discussion, the adaptations is like put in the developing countries, and the mitigation, a big portion of the mitigation is put on the rich countries. But after the years and many COPs, then it's like equal. And then the finance, they got the GCF. But like Indonesia, we have a very little financial aid from the GCF. But the Pacific countries, the SIDS is mostly Pacific countries like Samoa and small islands there. They're very they're very aggressive to get the fund, and they make progress in doing the adaptation. In Mexico, they have the pledge, the rich country pledged 100 billions a year to get to put and give it for the adaptation fund and everything for the developing countries. But until now, it's not even 50% of it. I'm sorry, I don't remember the number, but it's very difficult to get the financial aid from the rich countries until now. And the issues after the Haiyan storm in Philippines, yeah, my heart with you. Okay, this is after the Haiyan, they are the developing countries, the most vulnerable countries, they put up the loss and damage. But the loss and damage, and then just last year, it's like have agreed that the rich countries should put aid for the loss and damage. But in the conference, I've been in the Durban, I've been in the Bali COP, Durban COP and Paris COP. It's like a drama there. It's every time in the last minutes, they stay overnight and they don't get agreement. They don't agree for a very crucial, and is always between the poor countries, developing countries, and the rich countries. And you know what, sometimes they just argue for one word, and and it's really tiring to have the negotiation there. And somehow sometimes I just think, what do they think in the table, on the table of negotiation table, because they are fussy about words, they're fussy about things like that. But in front is millions and 100 millions of people at risk of their life. Like we know that the South Asia now is millions and millions people have to migrate because of the flood, because of the sea level rise. And I met from a lady from Nauru. She said that Nauru is only 10 meters above sea level, something like that, no, not even 50 meters. And they lost many areas in the seashore, and they moved to the hinterland, and it's very difficult for them to get the land, because the person or the people who live in the hinterland, they don't easy to give up their land to share with the people who come from the seaside. There is also the impact on the social and economic sides, and also the conflict. The conflict I remember about Darfur, who two indigenous people, they conflict on water sources. And I don't know whether the leaders, the global leaders, they realize that if they let this climate change get worse and worse, so the conflict is not only between indigenous people or the people who lives in the kampung or village, but the conflict can be in the country level. So we put the peace in the country at risk. So I don't know why they don't put like what Greta said. They just stay when their home on fire. Yeah. Okay, so that is additional story, and it is I'd like to provide like a trap, the identifiable victim effect. Yeah, why the leader is move very slowly. This is the Mother Teresa said. Somebody will say, if I look at the mess, I will never act. If I look at the one, I will. When we see one person in trouble, we feel like we can do something to save them, and our brain is flooded with positive emotions. But the more people in trouble, the more negative the emotions involved in not being able to help all those people. So until we'd rather not rock the boat, so we just let them trap in the trouble. The confirmation bias. The confirmation bias describe how people look for information. Just they look for information that consistent with what they already know, they already believe, or they already feel, which leads them to dismiss information that may change their minds or behavior. So that the media task to to overturn the perspective of the people who denied the climate change is, first, it's difficult because of the confirmation bias. Second, it's difficult because they have a self-interest like the big company. And third, it's difficult because climate change doesn't touch me. So that all the, I would say, the climate politics is essentially a power game. Okay, next please. I think it's the last. Yeah, thank you. But I still have one more story. This is the story about the denial. Yeah, this Benjamin Franta writes, at an old gunpowder factory in Delaware, I found a transcript of petroleum conference in 1959 called the Energy and Man Symposium, held at Columbia University in New York. I saw a speech from a famous scientist, Edward Teller. You can search about Edward Teller, who helped invent the hydrogen bomb, warning the industry executives and others assembled of global warming. Whenever you burn conventional fuel, Teller explained, you create carbon dioxide. Its presence in the atmosphere causes a greenhouse effect. If the world kept using fossil fuels, the ice caps would begin to melt, raising sea levels. Eventually, all the coastal cities would be covered. He already warned. In 1959 was before the moon landing, before the Beatles, before Martin Luther King, before the first modern aluminum can was made. It was decades before we all born. In Wyoming, I found another speech at the University Archive in Laramie. This one from 65 and from an oil executive himself. That year, the annual meeting of the American Petroleum Institute, the main organization for the US oil industry, the group president Frank Eckert mentioning a report called Restoring the Quality of Our Environment that had been published just few days before by President Lyndon Johnson's team of scientific advisors. The substance of the report, Eckert told the industry audience, is that there is still time to save the world's peoples from the catastrophic consequences of pollution, but time is running out. One of the most important predictions of the report is that carbon dioxide is being added to the Earth's atmosphere by the burning of coal, oil, and natural gas at such a rate that by the year 2000, the heat balance will be so modified as possibly to cause marked changes in climate. Eckert noted that the report had found that a non-polluting means of powering automobiles, buses, and trucks is likely to become a national necessity. Yeah, that is the story. And if you like to see movies, you can see the movies called like where my cars go, if I don't make a mistake. It's a story that in 1970s in America already produced an electrical cars, but then all the cars that have been bought by people is withdrawn, and they put it in the dump car area. There is a big upset among the people. So the electric car is already produced in 1970s actually. So okay, now I will close my presentation and I will say that is good for us, that we can provide stories that can open up the mind of people who, or audience who read it or who see our products. So I hope we all happy to do that. Thank you very much for the time.
Right, Ibu Brigita Iswara Laksmi, thank you for your presentation today. And I think all member participants can get a more benefit. For the next Q&A will be guided by Nabila. For the Nabila, time is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Okta, and for Ma'am Brigita for the presentation and the material that you gave to us. So yeah, this is the time for question and answer session. And for all of the participants who have questions for Miss Brigita regarding to the material about climate change and G20, feel free to you all to ask Miss Brigita right now. Don't forget to don't forget to raise your hand first, or you just drop the question in the chat box.
Yeah,
Yeah, thank
I
you.
think issue.
Yeah. So for the participants. Okay, there is Nabila from Uhamka who has raised hand. So yeah, for Nabila, the questions, please.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, Mrs. Brigita and all of friends here. I want to ask about, according to the material, news media are central arena for raising awareness about climate change. I want to ask about how people now react about climate change and how to increase people awareness about global issues. Thank you, Mrs. Brigita.
Yeah, thank you, Nabila. Once the BBC, they have a poll in Jakarta, and they ask people whether they know about the climate change, whether they're aware about climate change, and mostly of them they don't know, because even I just explain first, because the concept of climate change is a very complex, in there is a very complex explanation. Even when I was in the my daughter's schools, and there are the seminars between the teacher, even the teacher, they don't know what climate change is and what global warming is. And he said he lives in Medan. Medan is another city. There's a city in Sumatra for all the Filipino here. He said, oh, we don't have global warming. We don't have climate change because our building all doesn't have many glasses. Can you imagine that? That is not the only things. This, the more shocking is even the official who look after the development is also in Sumatra, also say the same thing. Okay, and I don't like to say that we are the only or the center, but we have a responsibility, because not all the people are literate to watch television or to read a newspaper or whatever. So we just convey the message to our audience. Okay, firstly, the message must be clear. If there's a struggle, it's really a struggle. I think you all made the struggle. How to convey the message to explain what is climate change, what is global warming, because it's a really very complex issues. it is linked with the atmospheric science, what's that? The oceanology science and everything. So to make it clear, I think is to give an example. It's like if you put the blanket on your body so that you get warm. That is the CO2, the carbon dioxide does to the planet, does to the earth. So the earth has a blanket of CO2. Probably for the, the common people, we have to explain like that. And to put the story, in the early days in 2007, before Indonesia held the COP13, I also put the cartoon besides my writing to explain that. And we hope that the people can understand that. Even in the newsroom itself, they also said, make it easier, make it easier. They always stress that to me. But the impact of a individual, we should also provide. If we say the flood is caused by the climate change, of course it's not true, because climate change is not the one and the only reason that the flood happened. But that is the difficulty. Either the people who read it will aware about the danger of climate change, or they neglect the climate change because they say the river is full of garbage, so that they get the flood. So don't forget to put two cases of the impact of climate change, more frequent and bigger. It's like Topan Haiyan storm. Probably at the years before the big Haiyan, they already have that, but it's in a small scale and not very not very frequent happen. But now we can also tell the people in Jakarta, before this decades, I think when I can tell that when I arrived in Jakarta in 1987, when we have rain, all over the city is raining, but not now. In my kampung in Jakarta, we have many districts. Probably in my kampung I have rain, but on the other district, just 1 kilos or 2 kilometers, it's not rain there. Why? Because we built concrete. The concrete, they absorb the heat because we have so many concrete around, so that we have we call it like island of the green leaves who absorb the CO2 and also the heat. So the difference between the temperature, it's produce wind, and wind and the heat produce cloud, so that the cloudy area is like this area and this area and this area, because of the difference of the temperature now is more and more and more in the cities, because before that is like homogeneous. the land is still green all and everything. So that's why we have in Indonesia, we have it like storm in America, but it's very small, very small. It's not even 1 kilometer moving. It's only in one place and moving around. We call it puting beliung. Before this, puting beliung is quite rare, but now we can find in many cities they have puting beliung. Even in Depok, a very bad puting beliung few months ago, and people all of the roof just fly over. Okay, is that answer your question? To put
Yes,
in mind,
Mrs.
yeah, to put in
Yes,
mind,
Mrs.
put the example and put people in it. People who suffer, people who watch, people who knows. Okay.
Thank you, Mrs. Brigita, for answering my question.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much for Nabila for the questions. And
I like to have the Filipinos. I've been there in 1991 when Pinatubo erupted, and I was stranded there. That's a long story. So I have
yeah.
a history with Philippines actually.
Okay, yeah, maybe for all of the students from Dinsu, Philippines, maybe you can share the experience to maybe the thoughts of the
Yeah,
climate
just
change.
sharing and then we can discuss about it.
Yes, so yeah, once again, for all of the participants from UHAMKA or from DIMSU, if you have anything kind of UC or you want to share your thoughts about climate change and everything, you can share it with Miss Brigida right now, or you can ask the question for Miss Brigida.
Before any question,
Yeah.
I make an additional information that the G20 they emitted greenhouse greenhouse gases 80% of the whole world because they're a rich country. And one thing, this one is very important. I'm sorry, I forget. Many answers, technological sides of the answer for the climate change. Some of them make became a cause for the climate change. For example, the wind, wind power. For the wind power, you have a very big plate, the immense plate, big, very big, more than 15 meters. If I see in the ocean, where the blade come from? They come from the metal and the mineral that they dig from the mining area. So the more we have the metal blade, the more mining that we have, and we ruin the environment more. That is, so every time you put the story of the answer of the climate change, dig and dig the knowledge about that, probably we will amaze. And who introduced the technology? This is the rich country also. So it's like a circle, so that and also if you say the plastic that we can produce things from plastic, it will push people to make more plastic trash because we think that it will produce or it will have a more worker, more economic side that people can make living from making things out of the plastic trash. So just think more deeper and deeper in this issue. This issue is very tricky and complicated. Okay. So I think the right answer is what the Mahatma Gandhi said, that the planet Earth is enough for our necessity, but it's not enough for our greediness, our greed. No. So start from now, I think we should think over if we want to buy things. Because when we buy things, it means that we push the industrial side to the machine of industrial side will move more faster and faster.
Okay, thank you very much, ma'am, for the information. Yeah, maybe we should be more careful to all the things that happen in the world. Yes, correct.
To
Okay,
see things not like what they want us to see them.
Okay.
Just see things to use our analysis, our our rational thought. Yeah. Don't carried away with all the narration, the narrative things that has put probably in the global level, even in the global level.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much, ma'am, for the information and the motivation maybe for us. Okay, yeah, for all the participants, if you have something that confuse you or you want to ask a question to Miss Brigitta, just ask the questions by raising your hand first.
Anything.
Yeah, anything.
Outside of the what's that? PowerPoint is also okay.
Yeah. Okay, so you can ask anything to Miss Brigitta right now. Yeah, maybe if you have a trouble with mic and your gadget, maybe you can drop the question in the chat box. Everyone, you can ask anything you want for Miss Brigitta. Yeah.
Probably Ibu Ika, Ibu Ika, Mbak Nabila.
Yeah.
Maria can also post a question.
Can open video and mic. Okay. What you like to know about the
Mbak Brigitta, would you please explain me more about the causes of we actually don't have more than angin puting beliung, but now we have badai.
Yes.
Any kind of badai.
Yes.
Yeah, what is the
It's shifted.
actually
Yeah.
the causes of it?
Yeah. Actually, we are lucky, Bu Mustika, that we our country lay between 10 degrees in the north and 10 degrees in the south, and we right in the equatorial line, because due to the theory, less than 10 degrees of lintang. What is lintang? you know, in the map and in the Earth map, they have lines, horizontal line, yeah. The 10 degrees to the north and 10 degrees to the south. In between is Indonesia, laid there. Due to the theory, that area is free from storm, free from any any typhoon or whatever. But now we experienced the tail of the typhoon, and it's more and more happen. Why? Because this area, the line, is more warmer now, so that the so that the north of the line is warmer and the south of the line is warmer, so that the pressure of the air in the atmosphere is low, so that it can like slip, slip over the 10 degrees line. It's because of the difference of temperature in the old times and now. Because now the high temperature is become wider to the north and to the south because of the global warming. So that's the low pressure is much more wide now, so that the wind is stronger. So that is the explanation of why we now have the typhoon, and before that we don't. This is because the wider area that is getting warmer and warmer, so that the line before that, after 10 degrees, it's cooler, but now it's no more, so that the pressure, the air pressure is lower. When the air pressure lower, so the air moving to the lower pressure. So that's why more stronger wind we have now.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Brigita.
Okay, thank you, Ibu Iva, for the question. I have trouble with my connection here, okay, so I hope there's nothing more trouble. Okay, thank you so much for Ms. Brigita for answering Ma'am Ika questions. So yeah, for all the participants, once again, if you have
Are you
anything.
there? Are you there?
Oh, there's
Oh, Ibu
yeah.
Maria, Dian.
There's raise your hands, Ibu.
Hello.
Modi. Yeah, the question, please.
Ibu Maria atau saya dulu?
It's okay to Ibu Modi first. It's okay. Okay.
Thank you. Makasih untuk moderator ya. Bu Brigita, selamat pagi Bu. Saya pakai bahasa Indonesia aja ya. Karena saya yakin bahwa saudara-saudara kita di Filipina juga Tagalog kan banyak juga sama ini.
Mirip-mirip.
Iya, mirip-mirip. Jadi pertanyaan saya begini. Kalau kita bicara mengenai climate change itu kan sudah sering dibahas dan diulas di media. Cuma yang menjadi poin atau sorotan itu pasti ada dampaknya yang dimunculkan atau tampilkan. Tetapi tidak melihat bagaimana asal muasalnya itu terjadi gitu. Dan
putus-putus.
Halo?
Ya, halo.
Ya.
Okay.
Dan rasanya di media itu selalu sedikit ya berkaitan dengan penyebabnya gitu dibandingkan dengan dampaknya yang dirasakan oleh masyarakat. Nah, saya juga melihat begini, bagaimana di isu-isu climate change itu kearifan lokal tidak jarang sekali dimunculkan. Padahal kalau kita belajar mengenai pencegahan itu bisa mengadopsi dari kearifan lokal yang sudah dilakukan orang-orang adat ya, atau masyarakat adat. Nah, mereka kadang untuk di forum-forum internasional itu tidak ada ruang untuk diberikan waktu atau diberikan ruang ya untuk mereka tampil di forum-forum internasional. Padahal sebenarnya konsep mereka mengenai climate change atau pencegahan dari kerusakan lingkungan itu justru malah menurut saya akan lebih banyak dampak positifnya gitu dibandingkan kita harus mengadopsi konsep-konsep barat gitu. Nah ini kenapa itu bisa terjadi ya Bu? Maksud saya begini, kenapa media ataupun pemerintah tidak memberikan ruang yang lebih luas pada masyarakat adat untuk mereka tampil menyampaikan bagaimana mereka menjaga lingkungan gitu ya, yang sampai sekarang ini juga masih kita lihat seperti contohnya Kampung Naga. Saya kalau kita datang ke Kampung Naga, kita lihat lingkungan mereka itu sangat bersih sekali gitu. Kita bahkan yang orang kota, jadi sebagai orang kota itu sangat malu. Mereka benar-benar menerapkan konsep tentang bagaimana menjaga lingkungan itu benar-benar dengan cara tradisional, tapi bagaimana masyarakat itu begitu patuh terhadap hukum-hukum adat gitu. Nah, sementara kita di masyarakat kota, jangankan untuk hukum adat ya Bu ya, hukum perda saja tidak mempan gitu. Nah, apakah memang harus hukum adat yang diberlakukan agar masyarakat kita begitu peduli dan begitu aware ya terhadap pencegahan terhadap kerusakan lingkungan. Nah gitu. Nah satu lagi kayak kemarin yang terjadi di Batu itu saya juga agak kaget karena kalau kita melihat konternya mereka itu kan dataran tinggi ya Bu ya. Tapi Batu.
Oh Batu ya.
Nah tapi ternyata terjadi longsor. Yeah. Nah ini akibatnya adalah kalau saya melihat itu adalah bagaimana masifnya pembangunan pariwisata Bu. Sementara kalau tidak salah Ibu Brigita kan bergabung di Eko Natur ya Bu ya. Ekowisata. Nah, itu kan pencegahan terhadap bagaimana lingkungan itu bisa dicegah dengan betul sih mungkin pemerintah punya konsep target peningkatan pariwisata, tetapi juga harus dilihat bagaimana dampaknya terhadap lingkungan dan masyarakat sekitar. Nah, kadang masyarakat sekitar atau masyarakat adat itu tidak dilibatkan dalam pembangunan pariwisata. Nah, ini yang akhirnya menjadi seperti kayak bumerang ya bagi masyarakat adat dan kita juga yang merasakannya. Nah itu bisa mungkin pertanyaan saya itu bagaimana sih sebenarnya harusnya tuh bagaimana media dan pemerintah memberikan ruang yang lebih luas kepada masyarakat adat. Terima kasih Bu Gita.
Terima kasih. Saya menjawab dalam bahasa Inggris supaya yang lain tahu ya. We talk about the involvement of the IPs, the indigenous peoples or the local peoples who lives around the forest, the local people that they like to guard their environment. They have a very, very decent lifestyle. Okay, first of all, I'd like to back to the report of from the IPCC early of March this year. There is underline, a very, very big underline that from now on, we cannot use the paradigm, the economic paradigm for the development. It's very clear. It's very clear that they said from now on, for developed area, you should involve the local people because they know more about their own environment. They know it 100 years. They live it there. The indigenous people, they live it there in generations and generations, and they keep the forest intact. That is the message that was underlined. But the development is like I said in the 4 compartments. It is belongs to the driven paradigm driven. I mean, paradigm driven. They think with the development, then money will come, and they still stick to the concept of the trickle down effect. I think everybody used to that concept. The trickle down effect means if you have a development, Then you have big investment make a development, and then they provide a job, so that the the money can go to the workers. It's drop the interest to the people who works in that area. This is trickle down effect. But is that happen? The fact is not. We find trickle down effect is failed. Now, why they don't involve the indigenous people or the local people? Yeah, because they in their own thought, they are paradigm driven, and it's very difficult to change that paradigm. That is the one answer that I give. The second of the question, why the indigenous people not given a place in the international conference? Yeah, they only have a tiny space. Even they have the not in the main venue, they around the main venue. It's very difficult to find that place, the indigenous people's place. But the UN have the UN document about the UNDRIP, yeah, UN. I cannot remember, but the IP is the indigenous people. UNDRIP is a recognition for the indigenous people by UN. But even though they are recognized by the UN, but still, because the political sides, because the people who make the regulation is occupied by paradigm, a trickle-down effect paradigm, that the development means money will come. That is the wrong paradigm. I think we put, I myself, I like to write a story about indigenous peoples. And there is very sad story. Sorry, I become emotional about it. In 1995, we in Indonesia, we have an award called Kalpataru. One of the Kalpataru was given to a man in Riau because he can stop the expansion of the palm oil plantation at that time. And you know, the Kalpataru Award was given by the president herself at that time is Megawati. But after that, the man, I cannot remember the name. He was awarded by the WWF Asia the same award because he can defend their land. It is an indigenous people there. It's a Talang Mama people. If you try to get Talang Mama an award called Kalpataru, you will find the name of the person. When I visited Rio, Talang Mama is in Rio province. I said, I'd like to interview the old man. And they said, he was already passed away. And they said, at the end days, in his end days, every time he opened the door, he cried. Why? Because the plantation is right after, in front of his house. The palm oil plantation reached his house. This is the first story, okay? So that the Kalpataru Award cannot defend even the plantation and everything. This is the first story. The second story about the Kalpataru Award again. It's in Gorontalo. He was awarded because he bring up the villagers to plant many fruit tree, so that the kampung become more and more economically, the welfare is very good because of the fruit tree. Okay, and the man was awarded that Kalpataru. But what happened? The governor is replaced by another government. The Father Muhammad come into the place, and he said, "We will export tons and tons of corn. So all Gorontalo must plant corn." What happened? The villagers cut down all the fruit trees and replace it with corn. But in 5 years in the position, then father is replaced, and the regulation or the decision was replaced with another regulation. And what happened? The villagers become poor again, and the river is no water again. Because at that time, when they have a fruit tree, even Pak Warif asked me to meet that man in the Gorontalo, the old man in Gorontalo. No water in the very small stream, but when they have the fruit tree, the water reach your thigh. And the man is already passed away. And his grandson proudly present us the Kalpataru. It's very heartbroken. So that is the story. Because why? There's a government see, oh, you're good, you're good. And they give the award, but then neglected. Not taken over by the government. I think if they give the award, they should guard it, they should give financial aid, they should help them to replicate this to the other area, so that all the people can have the same welfare. But that is the story. So why I think the question should be goes to them, because I think the media, they do their job. They put the indigenous people in a respected page. The story was moving. The story was good about the welfare of the people. But then, but Kampung Naga is very lucky because it's closed, because it's already given a certain as a conservation area, cultural and everything. But it's not easy to have that. And so I think the indigenous people also has the UN have the award for indigenous people called Equatorial Award. The Equatorial Award has been awarded to Apa Janggu in the Kalimantan, and also to the South Kalimantan before that. So this is the recognition because of the UNDRIP. The UN recognizes the IPs, but the government that have them, they not being involved in the making the decision. In Indonesia, we have one what's that? Undang-undang. What is that? Remind me. Regulation, constitution, about indigenous peoples. We the people, the Indigenous Peoples Alliance of Indonesia, they propose the constitution about indigenous people, but then it stopped 2012 until now. It's already a decade, and it's not passed from the parliament. It's not been passed. It's not been passed from the parliament. If it passed, so that they have the same voice with other people, they can get together to discuss everything with the government, but it's not has been passed yet. That is my answer, or sharing what I know. Well, Bu Modi,
Terima kasih Bu
I
Brigita.
miss something.
No.
Oh
Bu,
yeah.
kapan-kapan ngobrol ya Bu ya soal
Yes.
Eko Nusantara ya, Eko Natri ya. Terima kasih Bu.
It's very sad for the Batak Toba.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much, Ma'am Modi, to the question, and Miss Brigita for the answer. It's really interesting to listen the story of, you mentioned, ma'am, before, it's Kalpataru. Yeah, this is something new for me. Thank you very much, Miss Brigita, for sharing the story and information about local people and local culture for the climate change and climate change issue. Thank you so much.
Sorry, I will add something about the indigenous people. Every
Yes.
indigenous people, they have their own regulation, a regulation that is kept for 100 years. For instance, if they like to have lock to build their own house, so it has to be approved by the the leaders of the communities, and he cannot take more than that. And also, and amazingly, the indigenous peoples, they're not poor at all, because they can get the medicine from the forest. They can have a house from the forest. They can have food from the forest. They don't need money at all. But when the investors come, the land is bought, and they are given money, and then the money gone, because they just the new thing for them is to consume things. But I met the Talang Mamak people, the young generation, they go to the universities. The money come from the log that they plant more than 1 decade. This is my additional answer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, ma'am, for the additional information about indigenous people. So yeah, there's question here I found in chat box from Ma'am Maria. Okay, maybe I'll read it first. To Miss Brigita, I follow your presentation and enjoying getting some information. And the question is, what your suggestion for students to speak on environmental issues on their areas? As we understand, the Philippines suffered natural disaster such as storms, floods, and eruptions, similar to Indonesia. How students could collect the information and data to tell how locals struggling and handle the issues. Thank you for a nice presentation, ma'am. That's the question from Ma'am Maria.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for the question. I'm very happy to have the question from the student. Oh, no, not the student.
No, it's
No,
Ma'am Maria.
it's my senior.
Yeah. Mhm.
Mbak Maria, yeah. I think you already know, but we just share what we know. So, as a journalist, we better we go to the field to meet people in person. Sometimes we got the case or the issue from the government who talks about that, or from other information, and then I think it's better that we go to the field and collect the information and data using the interview and so on. Philippines and Indonesia, I think, is a bit similar. Not there is not sufficient data provide in Indonesia. It's very difficult to get a data, a valid data sometimes. Yeah, I think probably Philippines also have the same problem with that. So that the story we can dig from the person, we can dig from the actors itself who suffer from the Haiyan. And for collect the data of the disaster, fortunately in Indonesia we have the National Disaster Center, something like that, BNPB. And I believe in Malaysia, in Philippines also has that. So for the national data, we can collect from them. And also we can, if we still doubt with the data, we have to check it with other sources, probably the NGOs who have close with the issue. So usually they have the data also. So we have to compare the data. Sometimes, not sometimes, I mean, the more data sources, I think we can more make a check and recheck to have the more valid data. And after we have read all the data and we have a conclusion, then please check it again to the academician or to the people who experience that. I think check and recheck. I think this is the way that we produce our story. Is it? Yeah, isn't it like that? Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, ma'am, for the answer, and to Ma'am Maria for the question. I hope it will answer Ma'am Maria questions, and it's clear for me to understand it. Thank you very much, ma'am. So yeah, once again, for the participants, because we have more minutes to discuss about climate change, media and climate change. So if all of you participants have question, once again, you can raise your hand first or just drop the question in the chat box. Thank you. Maybe you want to share thoughts with us from Dimsu or Jakarta as well. You can really to share the thoughts with us. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, there's questions maybe for the participants.
Could I ask question? Could I ask question, Mbak Nabila? Hello. Hello, Mbak Nabila. Mbak Nabila is no sound. Okay. Okay, I will talk again then. I think for the next years coming, it's the people movement. It's the only way to make the people more aware about climate change and the danger of the climate change impact. We need more Greta Thunbergs because young generation will have this world ahead. I think I see a bigger and bigger movement amongst the youth, and I think the world will be theirs for the next future. So this is the first as a people movement, and now I realize that the religion movement is also become more and more. Like in Indonesia, we have Istiqlal, the mosque, the biggest mosque in Indonesia, the central mosque, was awarded as the Green Mosque internationally. Is very proud about it. And also now the network of the Green Faith, interfaith network, who was that talk about the environment, the connectivity between people and the land and the nature and so on, with the creature and everything, more and more is much bigger now, and they have a movement too. I think as a people movement will somehow, I hope one day they realize that money cannot buy oxygen, money cannot buy trees, money cannot buy water. If the sources are gone, money cannot be eaten, money cannot be inhaled, money cannot cure our sickness. And the pandemic of COVID-19, I think, is a very important warning to us, how that the animal, the biodiversity, they lost their home, so that they reach us, so that they infected us. Before this, why we don't have a COVID? Because they have their own home, and we are separated far enough with them. So that biodiversity is our life. And with the climate change, biodiversity will be gone. Okay.
All right, ma'am. It's finished. Maybe the all participant is enough for the question. And before we closing, I want to all participant can open your camera for take a picture. Right, all participants. Maybe all
Oh, Mbak Nabila
participants.
hilang.
Nabila, say and call me disconnecting. And he cannot join the Zoom, ma'am. So I'm sorry. All right, all participants can open your camera. All right, wait a moment. Okay. All right, for one slide, 1, 2, 3. All right, next slide. 1, 2, 3. All right. For next, the last 1, 2, 3. All right, thank you all participants. Okay, we have finished for today. I remember stay safe and still enjoy the event until dawn. And thank you for your nice attention, and thank you Ibu Brigita Iswara Laksmi for the presentation today. And see you on the Monday. For the last, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam.
But for Ibu Brigita,
Thank you for the
please,
opportunity.
give the